Hi, my name is Sherwin Lai. I'm the interpretation captain at Bellarmine for the 2019 to 2020 school year. Today I have a video to dispel a few myths that I hear all the time about Interp. And maybe these will be helpful for you as you learn about the event and kind of just get these things out of the way. Now, the first myth that some people may believe is that Interp is easier than most speech events, especially you don't have to write your speech. A lot of people fall into the trap of choosing Interp simply because you don't have to write something and you think that's easier or is going to save a lot of time. Turns out this is not actually true because while you don't write your original script for the most part, except for OPP, uh, even the cutting process itself, that process of taking like a book or a play and compressing it into a 10-minute presentation, having it flow well, having a good build, having great transitions, that takes a lot of work and energy and usually eats up the majority of your summer. So that's something you want to take into account. The other thing is that while other events may seem like writing is a big part, for Interp, actually getting that delivery up to a competitive level takes a lot more effort than you think. In Interp, not only do we have blocking that you have to add to make your presentation more dynamic, we're also dealing with a wider variety of emotions, physical delivery as well, emotional delivery, facial expressions, and a lot of it goes more to the performative aspect. So you will end up spending a lot more time in my experience working on delivery, and that's something you want to take into account. So I would say Interp poses its challenges that are not easier than other events. They're just different, but do note that going into Interp with the mentality that this is just going to be easier might lead you down to the wrong path. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's definitely doable. Like, don't be scared away by this and think Interp is super hard. It's not, but it does. To be good at it, it does take a lot of work. All right, moving on. Myth number 2: you need acting experience or background to do well in Interp. So I've done Interp for 7 years now, and I still don't consider myself an actor, and I never was. And that's true for Xavier, our speech debate coach, our Interp coach. I find that if you have acting experience or background, whether in theater or doing monologues, that definitely helps. And a lot of the most talented interpreters are actors or have acting experience, but a lot of talented interpreters also don't have acting experience, myself included. Again, acting experience will definitely help and be beneficial, but I think at the end of the day, how far you're able to get depends mostly on how much work you're willing to put in to improve and really work on those specific skills. And it's definitely doable even if you don't have experience. So that's something to keep in mind. It's definitely something you can learn and acquire if you're willing to put in the work. Myth number 3: you don't need to write anything. Yes, Interp involves cutting from a book, a play, and you're just taking the author's words. However, there's actually this one part, and albeit it's only one paragraph, called the introduction you write. And this is usually like 1 or 1.5 minutes into your piece, where you break out of character, and you deliver this one paragraph that you write, explaining the significance of the work you're presenting, giving some context, that kind of stuff, as well as state the title and author. That you will have to write. I will say that's a very trivial or easy part in your preparation. It is important. It's not a big part, but it is not true that you don't have to write anything. Also, if you do OPP, original prose and poetry, you write the entire script. No different from an OO or OA, except it's more like you're writing a narrative, like write your own dramatic interp, write your own humorous interp. But for all interp events, you will need to write an introduction, and you might actually insert a few lines or two of transitions throughout your piece to make it flow better as well. Myth number 4. This one I get a lot. Oratorical interpretation, OI, is the easiest interp event because all you need to do is to find a speech and memorize it. Now I'm going to do another event on or another video on OI, but generally, quick summary is that event is you take like a speech that was given publicly, like a TED talk, a commencement speech, even something like I Have a Dream, though I would not recommend that you do that piece, but just like a publicly delivered address or speech, cut it down to 10 minutes, memorize it, perform it. Now, it sounds really easy, but it actually takes a lot of work to get good at it. One thing is in our league, Coast Forensics League, as of right now, OI always has a significantly more entries than a lot of other events. So you have to get like a much better score to even break or even score a wild card or qualify to state. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Is that it's just a lot harder. It's more competitive because it's so dense. The other thing is that although oratorical interpretation, I would say, has a lower barrier to entry than other events in terms that you just need to memorize, find TED Talk, cut it, memorize it, and it doesn't seem like much. That gap from being mediocre to being really good at OI is huge, and you're gonna have to put in a lot of work to really fine-tune that delivery and emotional build and those transitions. Like the standard of competition for being really good at OI is actually pretty high, and it might seem easy to get started in this event, but it'll take a lot of work to actually become good at it. Not saying that it's impossible; it just takes work if you're willing to put it in. So just to put that out there, of course, I'd argue all events are difficult in their own ways, but don't underestimate how much work it takes to be good at OI. Yeah. Myth number 5. The process for a new season starts in August when school opens. Now, this is a really big mistake. If you think that you can start your interp after school opens and get it ready by League 1 in October, you've already screwed up your whole season. Generally, you want to pick your script by the end of the previous school year, almost very beginning of summer at the latest, right? And then you probably want at least half or most of your summer to be dedicated to cutting that script, which will take longer than you might guess. And then you want to start memorizing and finish memorizing, I'd say, 1 or 2 weeks before school even starts. A couple of reasons for this. First, once school opens, you'll be very busy with getting up to speed on extracurriculars, schoolwork, whatever. And the time you will have to dedicate to interp will be substantially less than summer. So don't waste your summer in getting started. The second reason is that even though League 1 is usually in October, sometimes November, right? Even so, if it's in October, that might seem like far away from August, but those weeks go by really quickly, and soon you'll be crammed to figure out in the last week before League 1. Now remember that League 1, League 2, and League 3 are all weighted equally. If you get a wild card at League 1, that's the same as getting a wild card at League 2 or League 3. And what ends up happening is that a lot of other schools come in unprepared to League 1. So the competition is not that bad. Now, we don't do that. We want to be super ready, performance ready, top notch when we walk into League 1, so we can so we can beat everyone basically. Basically, other schools are going to bring guns to the fight, right? We shouldn't be bringing our knives. We should be bringing like full-on tanks and take advantage of the fact that other competitors might not be super ready or confident yet, right? And if you're able to get ahead, your season will start earlier. I've seen so many cases where people just struggled to get their stuff together by League 1 and they don't, and it just falls apart because League 2 comes really quickly and then the whole season just collapses, right? So getting that summer preparation done is super important. Finally, a quick bonus myth. This kind of ties in with the last one. You just need to practice the week before a tournament and you will be fine. could not be further from the truth. No matter how good or how much experience you have, like, you do need to practice, and the practice won't just happen in a few days. It's that cumulative practice you have. For example, doing 5 hours in one day is not as effective as doing like 1 hour across 4 days, even though four is fewer, right? You need to really spread out that practice. I'll say at least 1.5 weeks prior to a tournament, you need to be practicing every day. I would even say 3 weeks before tournament, you need to be starting to practice like every other day or every 2 to 3 days, depending on your schedule. Again, practice doesn't mean you have to go through the entire piece, but at least do like sections of your piece and keep it fresh in your mind. Because I'm telling you, Interp is not something that you can pull together last minute. I've seen people try it. It's really sad every time because it just doesn't work out. So that's about it for this video. Hopefully you did learn something about Interp and are thinking about these different things. Let me know if you have any questions. Let your captain know or your coach know if you have any questions. And I wish you good luck.